CP the Fanchise, Justin Morelli in the building. Salute to everybody in the chat. Salute to Knicks Nation. This is Knicks Weekly, episode 137. CP the Fanchise, Justin Morelli in here. And so the Knicks go 3-1 on the campaign. Had a good week for sure, with a big week ahead. But as you asked earlier, you know, what is the injuries going to be looking like? Well, according to Stephen Bondi of the Post, Deuce McBride is going to be out for the Knicks versus Raptors NBA Cup game. He's listed on the injury report as having a sprained left ankle. But let's start with this, because the fans have voted Deuce as this week's player of the game. Over the last 4 games, Deuce McBride at 12.5 points per game, shooting 45.5% from the field, 48 from 3, plus 72 on the week, and 87.5% from the charity stripe. So, yeah, I'll start with you, Justin, on this first. Before we go into the loss of Deuce, I mean, just talk about how he's been playing, because you've been a big Deuce guy. You're a big Deuce guy. Talk about how Deuce has been playing as a late, man. Absolute flamethrower.
Well, as you know, I kind of politicked for him to be in the starting lineup on this very show early this season, and I said I thought he should be the 5th starter. He's been. Listen, last year, I think he was banged up a little bit with the injuries, and he didn't play as well. This year, he's been off to a much better start in his shooting. Maybe it's the braids. He's changed the hair up. Maybe that's gotten him a little more aerodynamic, maybe, and now he's getting a little higher on those threes, and now he's draining them. But no, he's been playing as well as anyone on the team, and he really doesn't get talked about. I think I did a video on it a few days ago, and how he really gets overlooked. He's an underrated player in this league. He's on a ridiculous contract. I mean, I know his agent, signed that contract in his first year, but now that looks like, look, you know what I mean? Like that's a contract you're going to look back at and be like, how many players are making more money than him? It's crazy. He's playing like, and I'm going to do actually a video on this too. Him and JB are playing like one of the best backcourts in the league, period.
Yeah.
Like, I would say that right now. I think they're one of the best backcourts in the league, and Deuce was on the verge of being that guy who was like the X factor. Right, who was like the guy for the Knicks that even if Josh was starting, and I don't have as much of a problem with Josh starting with this new system, but Deuce was going to play 25, 30. Some nights he was going to finish, some nights Josh, some nights others. But he was playing as well as anyone on the roster, and really as any 2-guard or combo guard in the league right now, to be honest.
Yeah, no question. I mean, you look at the numbers right here for Deuce McBride, a 91st percentile in differential this year, man. His biggest impact on the team since his rookie year. But, rookie year is rookie year, and there's very limited minutes. I'm talking about, substantial amount of minutes and a bigger role, a plus 12.8 on the differential side, plus 23 in terms of expected wins with Deuce on the floor. The Knicks are a plus 10.4 points per 100 possessions when he's on the floor. That's good for the 93rd percentile. How about the turnovers, bro? How about the turnovers, man? Minus 4.2% lower turnover percentage when he's in the game, which is pretty big for Deuce. 99th percentile. And then defensively, they give up minus 2.5 points per 100 possessions when he's in the game, and a little bit lower effective field goal percentage. But that's a major loss for this team, for a red hot shooter and their most consistent bench player, because now we'll see how long he's going to be out for, but clearly it was a sprained ankle. So you figure,
not a good sign that they announced him out today already for tomorrow.
Right.
So you'd have to think it's going to be at least a couple more games after that.
Yeah, so you already have Shamet on the men. Now you have Deuce down. So the guard rotation is getting a little bit light, man. What do you think about that going forward if he's out for the next, say, week or so?
Well, I think it's more than the guard rotation. It's their shooting, right? Those two guys were the best snipers they had on the team. Like Shamet, remember, before he got hurt, he was shooting great from 3. Then he goes down. And now Deuce is shooting great from 3, and he goes down. And they really don't have another guy on the roster to fill that role. Those are the two guys that are in that role, right? That are in that bench. They start sometimes, they come off the bench, but those guys if you cannot leave those guys open, because they are knockdown, lights out 3-point shooters this year. And they don't really have the guy to fill that role. Clarkson obviously hasn't been shooting well. Kolek that's not his game. He's really a floor general. He can obviously, he'll shoot a 3, but that's not his game. They don't have anyone to fill that role. So I think it's going to hurt them. Now, luckily they got OG back. So if they were down OG and Deuce, that would be a problem. And Josh is at least making threes this year, so he's at least a factor from there, which I think is a positive. I always said I'd rather him shoot him and miss than not shoot him at all. So I think that's a factor. But yeah, it's going to hurt him. I don't think there's any way around it. He was playing the best on the team. He really Sunday was his first like off game, and it might have been because he was a little banged up with the injury. I didn't see really when it happened, but
yeah, it was a. Oh, you didn't see it from your vantage point.
I couldn't see from my vantage point.
Yeah. Look, it looked bad. It looked bad.
Really?
Luckily, it was just an ankle, man. It looked bad. It was another one where it's just one of those things, man, where everybody's going up full force,
right?
And your momentum is taking you under the basket, and you're trying to land. It's like Franz landed like this, and so did Deuce. So it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard, but it was a tricky play. Luckily, it's just an ankle. As you said, they're gonna miss him. They're certainly gonna miss his 3-point shooting, the point of attack defense as well at the guard spot. Yeah. Somebody who
and another ball handler too.
Ball handler.
They're obviously playing Kolek now, so you've Kolek and Clarkson off the bench. It's not as big of a deal in that area. But yeah, like I think more so, it's just the role that he plays, and he was also an energy player. That's right. Like those guys are key. Like Josh plays that role for them. Deuce plays that role for them. And like, he's a pest. You know what I mean? Like he's a guy on defense. Like he's like, you were like, get off. That was like me on defense when I played. Like I always wanted people to be like, I want to smack this kid off the court. You know what I mean? Because I wanted them to feel every like bit of me following them around the court. Like, and I feel like that's what Deuce does on defense too. So it's going to be a loss. But at the end of the day, you'd rather it happen now than at the end of the season.
Rather it happen now. And, luckily, if you look at today's the 8th, let's say he's at, 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? Let's say it's 2 weeks. That takes you to the 22nd. You're only technically, if they win against the Raptors, let's say they run through to the 22nd, win the NBA Cup. They hope to take the whole thing. It's only 5 games. Like it's not that much if he were to miss at least 2 weeks. You have the NBA Cup games. You have the Raptors. You have the winner of Miami and Orlando in the semifinals. And then you potentially have the finals on Tuesday. Then you have on the 18th.
You know who we're playing. You know who you'd be playing in the finals. Ooh. We don't need to go. You know who it is.
Ooh.
We don't need to. Then, it's gonna be, OKC's gonna be there. Let's be honest.
Then you have the 18th. You're at Indy, and then home against Philly on the second night of a back-to-back. So, I mean, even if they take it up to, say, 2 weeks, it's not that much. It's not that bad.
No, and they're in fine position right now. They're in second place. They're going to win games anyway. They won games without OG, right? They just win those tough road games against the upper echelon teams. But other than that, they handled their business. So I'm not worried about this strength of time. I just want to see these guys play together because obviously it's a new coach and it's a new system, and you want as much time of them playing together as you can as the season goes on, right? Because that's the only concern. Other than that, I think it'll be fine. And he obviously was playing well. You hate to see him go down when he's playing this well, lose that rhythm. As a shooter, you're in that type of state. You don't want to go down in that spot.
But you know what? You made that point, and someone else made that point just a couple days ago. It was like that's the thing that continues to derail Deuce is the injuries, because then he comes back. And then he gets a little inconsistent, takes him a little while to regain strength. I did ask him that in our interview in Vegas, like, how was it last year going through those injuries? And it was tough on him. So hopefully this doesn't set him back too much. But as we gotta hope. We gotta
hope. Deuce, like he's a man of few words. You know what I'm saying? He's not gonna tell you everything he's feeling. So he doesn't let you know maybe what he really went through last year with those injuries, which might have been even more than he let on.
Here was Mike Brown in terms of how the Knicks might go about dealing with the absence of Deuce, in particular on the offensive side of the ball. Here's Mike Brown.
You guys watch this enough. We don't put a ton of pressure on our quote unquote backup point guard to go make plays for everybody else. We just have, I call the position a push man, but it's a push man initiator, somebody to initiate the offense, because we feel that our staples within what we're trying to do and the actions that we've thrown out there with the options to start the offense, get the dominoes to fall. And we can play from there. And so as long as we have guys that can pass, dribble, or shoot, and when I say dribble, just bring the ball up and initiate the offense, then we feel good, because now the dominoes will fall on their own.
And I think when you think about, obviously, what Mike Brown is preaching about is his positionless system where, it doesn't really matter who's bringing the ball up, just as long as they're getting into the offense quick. You have a number of options that can do that, depending on how he's staggering the lineups. As you said, Kolek has played. You have Clarkson. You have Hart, who can do it. Bridges. You do have a number of guys that can get the Knicks into their offense, and I think that's part of what's helped them maintain that number 2 offensive rating, and also where the lack of a backup point guard hasn't necessarily killed them just yet is because, they have those options, especially with Hart. That's a sleeper right there.
Yeah, and I think you saw at the beginning of the year, he's had everyone bring the ball up. Like, Mikhail's brought the ball up a lot. Josh obviously is comfortable doing that. He's great, we know, as getting the ball in transition and bringing it up off a rebound. Like, so I'm not worried about that, because there's not going to be that many minutes in a game anyway where Jalen's not going to be on the floor, at least in crunch, crucial minutes. I'm not that worried about them getting in their offense. I think, like we talked about this, it's going to have to be by committee. They've done it by committee. They did it with Deuce by committee. Deuce is not a primary ball handler anyway, really, at least at this point of his career. He's more of a combo guard that's I'd say better with Jalen than he is without him. You know what I mean? Like, so I think for me, I'm not more worried now than I was at the beginning of the season, because Deuce is out in terms of getting into their offense. Like, Mike Brown's offense is player movement, ball movement, and just having multiple guys run the offense. Like, he knows who he wants to get the ball to in the end, but at the beginning, I don't think it really matters. So I'm not too concerned about that.
Yeah, as of right now, they should be okay, despite the fact that you do have Clarkson in a bit of a cold spell, and Kolek can be a bit up and down. We'll have to see how the Knicks fare without Deuce McBride, man. Deuce, who is becoming the 3-and-D specialist. Deuce really becoming the 3-and-D specialist for the New York Knicks. So as it relates to the NBA Cup, they will be without their 3-point sniper, man. But speaking of specialists, Justin, man, I got to shout out one of our sponsors of today's show, and that is Rula. I say this all the time, man, especially during the holidays. It's a good time for some, but for others, it could be a difficult time as they navigate some of the troubles in life, man. Let's just be real. We go through a lot of trials and tribulations, a lot of ups and downs, and sometimes the holidays, sometimes it brings the negative side of life where you're kind of struggling. And so, that's where Rula comes in, because they have over 15,000 licensed mental health professionals that can help you if you need to speak to someone. And especially for us guys, sometimes we don't want to do that. We kind of stick to ourselves and not want to get the treatment that we need. But with Rula, you can be assured that there's somebody out there for you to speak with. And it helps, man. It certainly goes a long way. So I'd encourage you guys to head over to Rula.com/KFTV because with Rula, you can get a specialist for as little as $15 per copay there. So make sure you check them out. Rula.com/KFTV. Connect with a mental health expert who specializes in you. So shout out to our guys at Rula for sponsoring today's show.